Right. Assalamualaikum. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, doctor.
Right. Thanks. Um, okay, so let's get started. Sorry for the slight delay. I hope you guys are ready for the course. Okay, welcome to this course. My apologies for not being able to conduct the lecture last semester, last 2 weeks. Yeah, because I was not really fit. Um, so I hope you guys have covered the first LU by yourself. I have posted a recorded lecture, but before that, let me brief a little bit about the course. Okay, so this course is Environmental Biotechnology. So I hope that you would have certain expectations about the course. It's basically a course that we discuss about two things: environmental science, and also biotechnology. And what's the association between the two fields? Okay. All right. Just a little bit about the first LU, environmental pollution. Um, so basically, in the first part, you have if you go through the lecture notes, it's all about the introduction to the environmental problems caused by the pollution. What is pollution? What types of pollution? And at the end of the session, I engage you guys with the activity, how biotechnology can help to make the world less polluted. Okay, so that's the second part of the topic. So in every LUs or in every topic, we're gonna have the two things, the environmental science and also the biotech parts. Okay. So I don't want to cover the first LU anymore. So let's have a look at the second LU. Oh yeah, before that, let me introduce a little bit um, on the course schedule, just to have an overview of overall course. Okay, so if you click on these tabs, the course schedule, uh, you will be directed to the schedule for the course. Okay. Um, so altogether there are six LUs, six topics that we will cover, but not continuously throughout the semester. We're going to have some activities or some other agenda in between the LUs. So the first 2 weeks, we covered the first LU, environmental pollution. So this week is the third week, and we're going to cover solid waste management. That's the second LU. The next LU is liquid waste treatment, yeah, LU3. And after that, we're going to have a talk by a speaker from Sarawak Sewerage Department. So the speaker will talk about the wastewater treatment, the practice at the Sarawak Sewerage Department. So that's going to be a talk. And after that, we're going to have a virtual field trip to sewage treatment plant in week 6. And after that, we're going to have quiz 1. Yeah, please take note on the date. That's going to be on the 26th of April. But any announcement concerning the quiz will be posted from time to time. Okay. Yeah, and after that is LU4 composting, and then we're going to have mid-semester break. We continue back with LU5 energy from solid and liquid waste, and the last LU, toxic waste and site cleanup. And after LU6, we're going to have another talk by a person uh, from from the industry. So it's actually a consultation company, Perudi Nasional. So the speaker will talk about the environmental impact assessment. Okay, and after that, we're going to have quiz 2 in week 12, and then some other activities that will be announced later in either week 13 or 14. Okay. Yeah, so that's basically about the schedule of the course. About the assessments, I think I have posted quite a lot of information about assignment 1 and 2. And for the virtual field trip, that's going to be posted later. Yeah. Okay, let's go directly to today's agenda. So today we are going to look at the second LU. The second LU is about solid waste management. So there are two parts of this session. Okay, I'm gonna cover the first part. Okay, the first part we're gonna discuss. I'm gonna go through the lectures on some introduction about the waste and also how the existing practice pertaining to the waste management, solid waste management. Okay, and second part will be the discussion, whereby I'm going to divide you into groups according to your subgroups. So you guys have to enter the breakout sessions, okay, after I finish the lecture. So in that breakout session, you have to discuss about the role of biotech in overcoming the problem caused by solid waste, non-recyclable solid waste. I'm going to talk about it later, but that's basically what the agenda for today. Okay. All right. So let's go directly to the background of today's topic. Okay. So solid waste. So before we talk about solid waste, the waste in general. So the waste general is defined as something that we don't use anymore. We discard to the environment. Yeah, because it has no potential. So that's the definition of waste. So I'm not going to go into words by words. I just highlight the important points for every slide. Okay. So just take note of that. Okay, so we generate waste every day, isn't it? Like solid waste, liquid waste, and many types of waste. We talk about waste, solid waste, organic waste, food waste, food that can't be eaten anymore, we discard it. We discard papers, we discard masks, right? And we discard what else? In the lab, for example, if you go into the lab, we discard lots of things, and there are many categories of waste. But in general, we can divide the waste into two types, liquid and solid. Liquid waste mostly managed by the local authorities, yeah, for every town, for every city, yeah, there is a responsible body for that, yeah, it's called Sewerage Department, Jabatan Pembentungan, yeah, who are responsible for managing the liquid waste from from the household areas, from the urban areas, from the industrial areas. Okay, that's going to be covered in the next LU. So in this LU, we just focus on the solid waste. Yeah. Right. When we talk about when we talk about waste, solid waste, it is in the form of heterogeneous. Normally, in Malaysia, we still like have one trash bin for all types of waste. We don't recycle that really much, except in certain areas or certain people, right? So the nature of the waste is heterogeneous. Heterogeneous means it's mixed all together. Yeah. But we have to know that actually the waste, it can be actually segregated into different categories, or actually some of them are recyclable and some of them maybe we don't have choice, we just dispose. But actually, there are certain ideal ways how to treat those non-recyclable waste. Okay, so basically that's the background of waste. So when we talk about solid non-hazardous solid waste, okay, so the waste that we discard from our house, they are normally considered as non-hazardous. So what is meant by hazardous solid waste are those wastes that are discarded by laboratories or factories, industrial areas. They have to be managed in certain ways, certain uh, approaches. Okay, for example, like the waste from from laboratories, for example, because now you're dealing with the FYP project, right? So the waste from the laboratories, for example, certain chemicals, certain certain things that need to be killed or wait, kill. For example, it consists of the biological organism, so it can't be discarded into normal trash bin. So there are certain ways to treat them. But the one that comes out from offices, from households, they are categorized as non-hazardous. Okay, so those municipal solid waste is classified into three major classes. Those comes from domestic areas or residential areas, from houses, from dwellings, yeah. And then there are also waste that comes from urban areas, uh, maybe like from universities, from schools, apart from housing areas. That's municipal. Shops, yeah. And then another type of waste, the one that comes from the industry. Okay. Right. So what are the components of the waste? So these are just some terminologies used. Garbage, yeah, what garbage is. Garbage, by definition, it refers to all those waste associated with preparation and consumption of food. And then rubbish is a terminology used for referring other solid waste that are not classified as garbage, right? And combination of garbage and rubbish we refer as refuse or municipal solid waste, or MSW. Okay. All right. The significance of the components. So what type of waste are generated? It depends on many factors. It depends on your lifestyle. It depends on your maybe activities, economic activities. If you are sellers, you're dealing with certain businesses, so you might discard maybe boxes or paper waste, things like that. But if you are sellers who are selling food, maybe the type of waste that you are discarding every day is different. So it is influenced by the activities, by the lifestyle, by the by the activities of the people. Okay. So now let's have a look at what are the conventional and still the current ways of disposing solid waste. So the most classic or conventional way of disposing solid waste is landfills. This is landfill. Landfill is a place where all the trash, rubbish are dumped. Yeah, this is landfill. Landfills. So, like it or not, it is still the existing approach adopted because of many reasons. Because it doesn't require high technology, um, considered considered cheap, considered easy, considered low maintenance, but actually it causes a lot of environmental pollutions, a lot of environmental impacts actually. Yeah. And we talk about landfills, like our wastes are accumulating every single day, isn't it? Especially after the pandemic, we have the mask waste, the glove, and other additional things. So those, you just imagine that the existing place for the land for this trash. But what happened from 10 years in the future, 20 years in the future, are we going to still rely on landfills to dispose our waste? So that's the thing that we have to ponder as, especially as biotechnologists. Okay, so we're going to have a look at it later, but now let's have a look at the current scenario. So these landfills, what are the problems of landfills? So whenever the trash are dumped layers by layers, it will create mountains. It will create heaps, it will create mountains. And the problem is because of our, for example, in Malaysia, you can see that we still discard everything in a single trash bin. Means that papers, bottles, kitchen waste, paper waste, masks, everything in the single trash bin. So all those things will be sent to landfill. Whereas actually, those, for example, paper, plastic, it shouldn't be actually sent. Ideally, it shouldn't be sent to landfill. The reason is because these things, it can be, sometimes it can be reused, it can be recycled, and it can be actually directed to other places. So because when we talk about landfills, whatever the things that dump there, it will stay there, especially plastics that can't be degraded, isn't it? Like kitchen waste, maybe because of they are organic, it takes time, but because of sometimes what delay the degradation of kitchen waste, although kitchen waste by nature it is organic, and if you think about if you dump it on land, after some time it will be degraded. But because of the nature of landfills, it is mixed together with all the trash, paper, plastic, bottles. So in between kitchen waste is in between, and you know, like you just imagine the mountains of waste. So those things actually will not really stimulate the degradation of those waste that can be degraded. Okay, so because of those heterogeneous nature. Okay, so what's the problem of the landfills? It can cause environmental pollution. It can cause water pollution because of the waste that comes, the liquids, whatever the liquids, remaining liquids that comes from the waste, it will actually go into the groundwater and it will affect eventually the water sources. Okay, so that's in terms of the water pollution. And in terms of the, of course, the air pollution. The air pollution, it can cause lots of, uh, it can emit methane. Methane is a gas. So what happens is that it will contribute to the global warming. Okay, so that's the problem. And also there are so many other things like maybe pollution because of the microbes that are not that are not that are not controlled because of the amounting amount of waste. Yeah? So there are so many problems created by the landfill. Okay. Yeah. A major drawback of this disposal without air. Yeah. There is actually no degradation of those waste that can be degraded. That's the problem. Eh? Newspapers recovered from landfill after 50 years are usually still available. So it means that they are there, kind of like forever. Okay, so but there are modern landfills. So what I'm talking about just now are old or traditional landfills. There are approaches towards creating modern landfill. Modern landfill. So modern landfill here is like a more structured or organized or planned landfill whereby the waste are properly maybe like layered, things like that, and then it will help the degradation of those kitchen waste. And what happens is that when these kitchen waste actually they emit methane. Methane is a byproduct released after the degradation of the organic matters. Okay, so methane is a gas, and it can be used as a fuel. So it can be used as a source of energy actually. Source of energy. And when we talk about energy, it can be used to generate electricity. It can be used to run certain maybe plants. Okay, so that is the modern landfill. They want to actually generate methane in a proper way, right? Where the methane, the resulting methane can be used as a source of energy. But the thing is, modern landfill, the cost of it is of course is very high, and then not all countries can afford to have modern landfills in all places or in all cities or towns. So that is still the current obstacle. Okay. Problems of solid waste. I think I've talked about it just now. Recycling. Okay. So apart from dumping everything at the landfills, so how we can reduce actually, how we can reduce the amount of waste that are sent to landfills. So the classic way is by recycling. Recycling, I'm sure that you know already what is recycling. So recycling is, it means that we separate the waste. We separate the waste. We don't put everything in the trash bin, in a single trash bin. It means that we have to identify what are the things that can be recycled. So that's that kind of information or knowledge. You must have it. Yeah. So you know that the most popular types of recyclables, we know it's aluminium or aluminium, metal, aluminium, and then bottles, right? And then paper. There's the three types of the most popular category. But actually, there are more. There are more. Um, if later, I will share you a video about a story in Japan, how they recycle, if not mistaken, 34 types of recyclables. Okay, you just imagine we know like, for example, in Malaysia, we only recycle three things, right? Aluminium, bottles, paper. But in Japan, they recycle almost most of the waste that they discarded. So means that it is actually possible to achieve or to practice a zero waste lifestyle. So it means that those things that can be recycled, they will be recycled. Organic waste, uh, kitchen waste, whatever the waste from the organic matters, they could go into, for example, composting. So actually, you know, like a zero waste lifestyle is actually it's not actually a myth. It can be achieved. Okay, so and Japanese has demonstrated that. Okay, so later I'll show the video. I'll share the video. Okay, let me finish everything first. So what is recycling? Before like we offer solutions as biotechnologists, and so we have to understand first what is recycling. What is the real definition of recycling? So recycling is defined as the collection and separation of materials from waste and subsequent processing to produce marketable products. So there are two important points of recycling. Have a look at this definition. So the first one is collection, separation of materials. So whenever we recycle, we put whatever the recyclables into the recycling bins, and those recyclables will be sent to recycling center. So what the recycling center will do, recycling centers. What the recycling centers will do, for example, like aluminium cans, they will gather all the aluminium cans, and they will compress it, they will merge it, and it will be created like a box, a cube, like a big cube. Okay, it's called, I think it's called bells. Oh no, spelling is bells. So this is like, for example, bag of whatever the recyclables. For example, aluminium, paper. Maybe this is aluminium, this is paper. So that is what the recycling centers do. Okay, they will merge all those things, compress, and create the recyclables into a big cubes like this, it's called belts. And they will send these recyclables to industries or factories that need, for example, paper. Okay, paper. So if you see the second point of recycling is this one: subsequent processing to produce marketable products. So it means that those things will be turned into new products that are not necessarily the original items. For example, like aluminium cans, it's from cans, right? The can, the drink can. So when they are processed, like at the recycling center, and they are sent to the factories, so the factories will use those aluminium to produce other things, maybe certain components in the electronics, and not aluminium cans. So yeah, so that is actually the right definition of but in our daily slang, when we say recycle the plastic bag, okay, when we say that plastic bag can be recycled, but actually we don't mean it. You know what we actually mean by saying recycling the plastic bags is we reuse it. What we mean is like we can use it again, but then we say recycle. Recycle plastic bag means that you use it again. So that the right term that you should refer that action is actually reuse. Okay, reuse. So reuse means you just reuse lah. You just reuse. So you use it, but with the same purpose again. Like you use plastic bag. You buy something from a supermarket, you get this plastic bag, and then you keep that plastic bag for you to maybe to go for the second time or for the subsequent time to the for shopping. So that one is the action. That action is reusing. Okay, reusing. It's not recycling. Okay, now you know what recycling actually means. Reusing. But reusing is also a good approach. It means that you reduce the number of plastics being used. Yeah? So reuse. It differs from reuse because recycling involves at least one processing step. Okay. Right. Another term is upcycling. Upcycling refers to creative reuse. Okay, this one is more to like you use the things, for example, like this one. This is a drum. Originally, it is used for containing some maybe liquids or water, but then let's say the drum is no longer can be used, so you convert it into something else, maybe into a bench like this. But it's actually more to based on creativity. Okay, for example, like this one is actually what is a wheel, right? From the wheel, so it turns into decoration. So instead of sending them to the landfill, you upcycle it. Okay, and this one is what? This is a bottle, and then it is turned into hook for hanging stuff. So this one is upcycling. This is not recycling. Okay, so you have to differentiate the terminologies. Requirements for recycling. Yeah, I have to say that the obstacles for Malaysian to recycle is because we don't have proper place, many places for recycling. That is a fact. Yeah? So, and also the awareness is very low lah, because of I think the government should do something. The government should work harder, like provide more places for recycling, and not just provide places for recycling. They also have to provide services to collect the recyclables, like how they collect the trash from every housing area, isn't it? So in developed countries, for example, in the UK, in the US, apart from the collection of the waste, the trash, they also have the service of collecting the recyclables. So when I was in the UK, when I was studying my PhD, the collection of the recyclables is twice a week. So we separate the waste, like those waste that are not recyclable, we put in a special bin. And for the recyclables, like the bottles, the papers, the cardboards, we put in another bin. So there is a collection, like let's say Tuesday and Friday. So the service apa ni, the collector for the recyclables, they will collect the recyclables, and those that collect the trash will collect the trash. Okay, so that kind of support is actually lacking, and it must actually there must be that kind of support in order to promote the awareness among the locals. So I think that is still lacking. Okay, and apart from the lack of support from the government, I think another important contribution is from the commercial parties and also from the industry. Okay, I think this one, some of the commercial parties, they have initiated some efforts. For example, they create like vending machines to collect the plastic bottles. I'm sure that you have seen this somewhere in the shopping malls. And one of the interesting way to attract the customers to recycle is maybe to provide like tokens, give some discounts whenever they purchase certain things at certain outlets, things like that. Okay, right? Yeah. Again, some issues on the encouragement to recycle. Okay, let's have a look at the operation of the recycling. So how the recycling takes place. It can be drop off. Drop off means like you put the things at certain places and it will be collected. Another way is by collection. Okay, this one is what I said just now. There is a certain authority that collects the recyclables and send to recycling centers. Okay, right. And it looks like similar to those authority that collects the trash. It comes with big lorries, but they actually collect the recyclables. Okay, so what happened at the recycling centers? So some of the, like for example, when I was in the UK, we didn't actually segregate like at home. We just like put in a single bin for all the recyclables. So when those recyclables are sent to the recycling centers, so the recycling centers would have to separate it according to the category. Like maybe the bottles go to the bottle department, aluminiums, papers. Okay, so those are the things that need to be done at the recycling centers. And what kind of separation? I think the first stage, they have some of the places they have to screen manually. They involve labbers. If you see in the pictures, the workers are separating the things. Okay, and then they are actually the separation process takes in a few stages. For example, first is skimming, like screening, screening all those things, and then the second part is to be more specific. Maybe they just collect usable metals or usable plastics or usable papers, things like that. And also some other processes involve like size reduction. Size reduction means they chunk it into small pieces, yeah, in order to create the bells at the end. And also for the metal waste, they have magnetic separation, or magnets that can attract all the metals. Okay, so there are different approaches of separating the recyclables at the recycling center. Okay. So this is what I mean just now. The cubes, it looks like a cube, right? But this one is called, if I'm not mistaken, it's called bells. The name of that cube, that big cube. So all of this actually is made from recyclables, and it depends on the category. Like there are aluminium bells, there are paper bells, there are, yeah, I think that's the two things for this one. For plastics, I'm not sure how they put it. whether it is in this kind of form or not. Okay. And marketing, so there are certain industries that use recyclable materials, right? Recyclable materials. They produce new products using recyclables. Okay, and yeah, there is a market for those products. Yeah? But there is also a dispute saying that products made from recyclables may not be as good as those products made from original or fresh items or fresh materials. So issues revolving around that matter. Okay, barriers to recycling. Okay, you can go through by yourself. This is just some information. Okay, the second part of today's class. Okay, so now we know already some backgrounds about solid waste. What are the existing approaches carried out? Okay, so now as biotechnologists, we cannot just satisfy with whatever the approaches being adopted, because like we know that landfills, for example, if we're just happy with it, are we doing our role? Are we doing our part? So what's the purpose of studying about recombinant DNA? What's the purpose of studying bioprocess technology if we don't do our part, isn't it? So at least at this stage, we have to ponder what are the possible strategies that we can do based on our expertise, based on our knowledge in biotechnology. Okay. So now I would like you guys to be in the breakout session. Okay, I have created 11 breakout sessions according to the subgroups. So you guys have to discuss. Okay, let me assign. You have to discuss what biotechnology can offer to solve this solid waste problem. Okay, now we are focusing on only solid waste. Okay, and we are talking about biotech approaches. So don't talk about recycling anymore. I mean, like you can talk about recycling, but you have to relate with biotechnology. Okay, don't talk about reusing. It's not a biotech approach. Okay, now you have to differentiate that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there are 7 more types of waste. Okay, this is subgroup 1. 1. Subgroup 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, 8 should go into here again. 8. 9. 10. 10. 11. Okay. So please take note on the numbering. Okay. So what you have to do, you have to, for example, like you are assigned with agriculture waste. So instead of sending agricultural waste to landfills, what biotechnologists can do with the agricultural waste? Either you convert it into simpler components to be so basically what you're going to do, what you can do with that instead of sending them to landfills. Okay. For example, plastic waste. Plastic waste here, okay. Instead of, let's say, you send to the landfill, okay, what you can do with that, and also what kind of approaches that biotechnologists can offer in order to replace the existing plastic, for example. Okay, things like that. It might not be just limited to one approach. You can actually discuss more approaches. Okay. All right. Now let's I would enable the breakout session. Okay, I have started the breakout session. So please enter the room, the breakout session, according to your subgroups. I'm going to visit every session, okay, just to listen to your discussion.